Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? And we're going to talk about what we talk about every day. We're going to talk about who am I? And we're going to come at it as many different directions as I can manage to hit. It's all going to depend on what frequencies I can accomplish during this. Because today it's just me. If you were here yesterday, if you were lucky enough to catch yesterday's special edition, I had a guest in studio. It was really very exciting. I actually piped her in. She wasn't really in studio. In spirit, she was in studio and she was in the show. We had a whole hour. It's listed as special edition. June 1st, go check it out. In any case, it was really exciting to me to be able to share my itinerary, my program with somebody else, and hear them echoing back. The person that I had in the studio absolutely understands the material. Now, there's always things new I can share with her, and some of the math she doesn't know. And her particular life isn't pointed the direction that this show is. But as far as law of attraction and understanding how the energetic frequencies are working and how it is your state of being that is absolutely the key to your success. Quit thinking that it is the outside world, and if the outside world is to blame, then you are helpless. That's why to make the shift. That's why to think of this differently, because if you claim 100% responsibility for the entire situation, for everything you get, for all of your rendezvous, for your whole life experience, if you take the responsibility for the whole thing, then that means you have control over the whole thing. If you give your control away by saying, oh no, I can't do anything about that, it's the environment that did that. Well, in some really broad aspects, that statement is true, but it's not helpful. If you claim 100% responsibility, then you have control over your whole entire life, and this is how it works. So if you're blaming outside circumstances or anybody else or anything else for your problems, whatever it is, blaming the condition outside of you for your problems, then you're trapped. Because now, in order for you to feel better, you have to change the condition. And you may be sending out signals all over the place like that. And now, I got to change this, and I got to change that, and I got to change it. And now the whole entire universe has to shift in a particular way, or you don't feel good. And what kind of formula is that? That's terrible. That's an absolute perfect formula for I'm never going to feel good. All right, I'm sorry. This is going to sound a little disconnected. It's because I had to go take a break. The water I was drinking somehow was making my mouth dry. It's coming out of a metal water bottle, so I just went and got some in a glass, and we'll see whether that is any different. Anyway, where am I? Where am I? No, different show. Who am I? Who am I? And the question is focused this way, and this is my intention, and I set my intention now at the beginning of this show. I do every morning before I do this show. Not in your presence, I set my intention, but my intention is only to share a perspective with humanity, to help raise awareness in the field so that we can live as a group more harmoniously, more peacefully, more cooperatively, so that we quit killing the planet and begin to garden and love this magnificent Eden that we have been bequeathed by our ancestors. to care for, all of that. It is my intention only to make things better, only to make things more whole. Um, and so with that, I know we already got started, but let's get started. What are we going to talk about today? The question is, who am I? In reference to source energy. And I'm asking, like, who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? Who created me? Well, actually, that's not exactly the question we're going to ask, because in a way, the specific who doesn't really matter, but we're going to explore the question of whether we are a created species. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Thank you, I did that off camera. Where did I come from? How does my equipment work? And we can look at it from a number of different directions. We're sort of talking about physically. How do I physically live my physical life? What is the meaning of my emotions? We have several reasons why we want to understand all of this. There's one really big one, and this one lands right back into common everyday reality. And that is, we need to get off of fossil fuels, and we need to understand this universe and ourselves to the point where we can get off fossil fuels, where we can understand how this universe actually works, how we actually work, how we could plug our technologies actually into the source of all energy. Now that's what I call the big kahuna, or the Holy Grail. That's the one. I know that my people collectively often imagine that the Holy Grail of clean, free energy is cold fusion, and it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because cold fusion only gets us so far to where we really need to be, because using a centralized nuclear reactor, even if it's doing cold fusion and it's all clean and safe and blah, blah, all of that, it still is a paradigm that involves centralized power stations, an energy grid, power being circulated amongst us through wires and such, all kinds of things which do not need to happen. When we understand the field that we're swimming in, then we understand that we don't actually need wires. We can have things like a tower that broadcasts a frequency that everybody can lock into and run their stuff on. That's what Tesla was working on. When J.P. Morgan, who was his financier, his financial backer, discovered what he was trying to do and shut him down, because he didn't want Tesla coming up with a way to give everyone clean, free energy. What kind of crap is that? How do you sell that? How do you stay a robber baron, top of the pile in a paradigm like that? And so he shut him down, and Nikola Tesla died in relative obscurity at the time. But the fact is he was onto something. There's all kinds of ways to do this. There's a million ways to do this, as a matter of fact. And many, many, many of them have already been invented, tried to come to light, and then were ruthlessly suppressed. Which brings me to my list of the... maybe I'll work on this today, increasing my technological education. I have this links list right here, this is what is in the description of my video, is actually this playlist, you could say. A couple of them are articles, most of them are YouTube videos. The first one is The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Full movie, documentary, documenting the history over a century of ruthless suppression of all devices, clever devices, wonderful ideas that would have incrementally pulled us off of fossil fuel this whole time. But it didn't, because we have been gently being nudged and encouraged and lied to and controlled and manipulated and all kinds of things. And I could jump in to the conspiracy side of this, but I actually don't believe that it is helpful or useful or productive to do so, because the second I do that, the second I go chasing after the conspiracy in anger and outrage, I've unplugged from my source, and now I don't have all the good ideas anymore. Now I'm no longer plugged into universal consciousness with all of the really great ideas and all of the really great spirits right there with me helping me. As soon as I take off on a negative emotion, I've unplugged from my source. That's how it works. So we aren't going to do it that way. Yes, there's conspiracies. No, they don't matter. You don't need to push against them, because that's not how we're going to fix this. We're just going to fix this by knowing who we are and going directly at what we want. And what do we want? We want to get off fossil fuels. And I don't care if the 400 families, the 400 controlling families and all of their oligarchical um, um, minions or whatever. I don't care what they think or want, or I mean, they don't matter. They don't matter. Just know who we are and know what we can do, and they can't stop us. The only reason they've been able to stop us is because the paradigm that we had going on. Every single one of them, in their naivete, in their not understanding what was really going on and how the world really works, they would take their really clever idea, keep it secret, and take it to the patent office, where it was clubbed to death and put on a shelf for whatever reason. Everything from national security to bogus claims of, oh, that can't work because it goes against the laws of physics. It can't possibly work. In the movie, The Lost Century, it shows people at the patent office. On the one hand, the patent office claiming that they can't approve that because that can't possibly work, and testimony of people working at the patent office saying absolutely those things worked. Anyway, so that's the first link, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. The second one is The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity video. That is the 37-minute YouTube video explaining the paper, which is also listed farther down. Just the link to the paper itself. If you don't want to just look at that YouTube video, if you want to read along with the paper or whatever, if you're actually a math or physics person, please go look at that. And then Quantum Revolution, that's the first episode. There's 12 episodes in this. This one is The Physics of a Unified Universe, I believe is the name of that episode. And then it goes on. Other episodes are things like spinning space-time and the holographic universe and a new model for the Big Bang. And anyway, it explains how these forces are relating to one another. Now, the more I think about how he's unified quantum and cosmological, it does seem hard to get your head around. But the mathematics is there, and the mathematics works, and the mathematics even predicted the new 4% smaller radius of the proton, and that's a really big deal. And the fact is that when he runs his numbers, he gets the right number. When he runs his equations, he gets the right numbers for the mass of the universe. But I'm not saying just the visible mass of the universe. I'm saying he gets really, really the right number for the mass of the universe, as in it equals the visible mass plus all of the dark matter and dark energy, that whole number. When you add that one all together, that mass, that's the number he's getting. The one that's the right mass for everything to actually be holding together in the universe without needing to add the fudge factor of dark matter and dark energy. That's actually what dark matter and dark energy is. It's the fudge factor in the mathematical equations that we had to add to make the universe dense enough so that it doesn't fly apart. But that's not the matter that we see. That's not the density of the matter that we see. It's the and so it's so funny. Sheldon Cooper goes off and his new study is going to be dark matter, which is stupid because there it actually isn't dark matter. Dark matter is the spin baked into the coffee. Um, the way Nassim describes it, it's like so when you make your coffee, your black coffee, make it spin with your spoon, and then add a little bit of cream, and then this spin starts appearing in the coffee. And the visible matter, the analogy is that's the cream, and we aren't adding in the the weight of the coffee, the plonks in the coffee. And when you add the whole structure together, then you get the whole number. But it's not like there's actually anything differently than what you've been thinking. It's just you haven't been adding in the structure of the weight of the structure itself, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get too far afield. Let me finish describing this so I can move on to a more interesting um, slide. So now we come to the connected universe. This was it was a big production. I'm not sure who made the movie, but it was a big deal enough. It's got good, wonderful graphics and you know good production value. And Patrick Stewart is the narrator. So either they had good money to work with, or Patrick Stewart himself was interested in it and wanted to be part of the project. I'm not sure why. Then we have another movie that uh, uh, I find it interesting for a couple of reasons. It sees us living in the future's past, and it talks about us as a superorganism and as being made of oil and such because of the way we're just. It's just interesting. Check it out. That's the full free version over on YouTube. Then there's an article, Butterfly Dreaming, from Paul Levy and awakeninthedream.com over there, his stuff. Then we have Origin of Mass, Nature of Gravity paper. Then I threw this last one in. My daughter shared this one in with me. She had her aha moment as she's like, oh my God, it really is spin, isn't it? It really is all just spin. It is an infinite, well, so the rest of it's going to be my words, but she shared this with me, and I share it with you because it's just kind of interesting. Just let it set with you. The Whirling Dervishes, this is why they spin, because everything is whirling. It is all spin. And God is like the center, this singularity at the center of all the spins, this infinitude of spins, all whirling out of some sort of mystical single spin that holds us all, that is organizing us all, that connects us all through this divine matrix that we are a part of. And this is truly the nature of the situation that we are in. And we can solve every single one of our problems if we will line up with how reality actually works. Now we're going to jump into some new stuff here. I don't have my new slides. I know a few days ago. Of course, nobody's watched since a few days ago, so that's okay. I haven't actually let any person down, as I promised them that I would be getting some new slides in the studio. I need to work on them. I have a few ideas that I talk about, but I would like to have a slide that supports what it is that I do. If you're a fan of the show, you know that I have a very finite number of slides. We start here with, here's the origin of mass and nature of gravity paper. I did put a link to this over in my description, so if you want to go check the actual paper out, please do. I also have a bunch of screenshots from the paper I have some screenshots from the YouTube video that describes the paper too. These coming up here, these are from the video that describes the paper. The claim is that every proton is actually a black hole. It's a little integer of wholeness, if you want to think about it that way. I know that we've come to think of black holes as being these, monsters of destruction with a gaping maw, that sucks in all matter and it falls in, and where does it go? Maybe it falls to the other side of another universe, but it's lost, it's gone, or whatever. That's actually not true. Um, that's not exactly how a black hole works. However, I mean, I don't know. There might be black holes that work that way, but that's not necessarily what a black hole is, because every proton is also a black hole. It's a little integer of wholeness, a little a little field of Planck's encoded within is all the information of all of the rest of the universe. It's holographic. We talk about this all the time. It's really important. And as far as I know, I'm the only one that I know of that is really trying to tackle a logical understanding of where the law of attraction meets all this mathematics and all of this physics and stuff, as we truly come to understand who am I? What is my consciousness? How does my consciousness work? This is like consciousness studies meets material emergence of matter and nature of gravity sort of discussion. It's consciousness. We're actually coming to a place of universal consciousness. That's actually where I try to hit, where I try to find myself as I do this show. I move, more incrementally. I move away from my smaller aspect and move into a field of data and information that is larger, that knows bigger things. And I leave aside the place where I might I don't know. This is new to me. I don't know exactly what it is that I do. But I believe that what I'm doing is that I move farther away from my physical mind, and I engage more and more into my broader perspective mind, of which we all have, by the way. Every one of us has access to this place where you leave yourself behind, but now you're in a place where you can think about stuff that, you can see where it relates to the stuff that your little self, was concerned about, but you have larger perspective. It's just you. Anyway, all of this stuff relates to all of the stuff. Let me keep going with these slides. If indeed a black hole is, if a proton is a black hole, then it will obey Hawking radiation. And there will be a time frame for that Hawking radiation to transpire. It will actually take approximately 10 to the 35 billion years for the protons to to disintegrate, to evaporate, to no longer be, because of Hawking radiation. And to give you a perspective, if you don't know how many years 10 to the 35 is, well, we haven't even gone 10 to the 2. That would be 100 billion years. 10 to the 3 would be 1,000 billion. 10 to the 4 would be 10,000 billion. Do you see where I'm going with this? 10 to the 35 is a very, very large number. It's a very, 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 very large number. So let's see. We will get more into this later. I don't know why I'm just showing you these pictures. I just thought I would just show you the pictures and get this out of my system. I actually like this picture. This one, look at this Space-time pixelization, look at that. Space-time is pixelated, and what are those pixels? They are plonks. And what happens when those plonks spin? The appearance of matter appears in front of you. But the visible matter is just the plonks that are organized into little vortices of spin. The whole field is pixelated plonks, I believe. I think that that's how this works. And that's why the source of all things is everywhere, and it's really, really dense, even in places where it doesn't look like there's any matter. The only difference between where the matter is and where the matter isn't has to do with an organization in the field of plonks spinning. The reason that they spin is because they're all spin potential, and what throws them into spin is gradient density in the field. One density here and a different density over here. The two densities, they're in the field. There's the difference between the two of them throw the field into spin. It's go watch the episode. Maybe I'll go find the quantum. Maybe I'll go look and see if I can find the episode Spinning Space-Time. And then right at this moment, I will show you the link to Spinning Space-Time. And maybe right there, you could actually even click on it. Maybe I can embed the link to that into my video, and you can click it right there and go watch it. I don't know. I'll go explore this after I'm done with the show. We're going to go finish my videos. We're going to do it very casually and quickly. Not videos, they're pictures. Slides. I call them slides. I screen captured all of these up to, this is the last one that I screen captured from the 37-minute video, of which there's a link in my description to this video. It's the second link down. It's really important. This one, I believe, came from the paper. I snatched this one from the paper. And I include a link to the paper, too, if you want to check that out. You can see how the mathematics works. Now, it's kind of weird when you put your head around how it actually worked out. But the mathematics works, and I don't argue with mathematics. It just, apparently the equations lead you right to an explanation of consciousness, and consciousness is actually right smack dab in the center of your understanding of these equations. Now, I don't know whether my woo-woo talk helps the situation, because I am trying to pull together mathematics and psychology and religion and history and energy and physics, all of these things under one umbrella. It's incredibly ambitious because we are one thing. There is one phenomenon going on around us, and we are all a part of it. And consciousness is a part of this. Universal consciousness is a part of this. And the whole universe being interactive and connected to itself and aware of itself. All of that, it's all really important. The holographicness of it is really important. And so I do what I do, and maybe it sounds a little wacky, and I don't know whether I do the subject a service or a disservice as I try to bring the wacky and the logical and objective under the same umbrella. I don't know if I do either of them a service or a disservice. I don't know. I know that I am moved to do what I do. I think we need to understand our universe, and we need to understand ourselves so that we can operate correctly and in alignment with actual reality. That's the alignment I would like to get us in alignment with. Abraham talks about being in alignment with your inner being. And that's that is absolutely what you need to do, get into alignment with your inner being, but your inner being is in alignment with actual reality. And that's the biggest reason why perhaps you would be advised to get into alignment with your inner being, because she's the one who has the better grip on reality than you do, especially if you have a tendency to go negative, because the actual reality of the universe is not negative. It's not negative, it's positive. You know. All right, so I am now finished with my little, just running through these slides. I don't know why I do it every day. But so this one right here, I like this one. These are the Planck units. And what is a Planck? A Planck is the pixel that the universe is made of. I don't know why they don't just, well, I think that Nassim describes this fairly clearly. I got my information from him, but then I put it together in my own way. So don't blame him for the things that I say. If what I say doesn't make sense to you, go look at his stuff and see whether his stuff makes sense to you. But what is a Planck? So this is how you get a Planck. A Planck is the pixel of the universe. It's a little tiny frequency. It's a really tiny frequency. And how is this frequency? How do you come to this unit? You take a photon going at the speed of light, crossing its own diameter. It doesn't take very long to do that. It doesn't go very far when it does that. And so the Planck length is how far it goes. The Planck time is how long it takes. The Planck mass is every little blip of energy, every frequency, whatever. There's a energy and mass have an equivalence. And so that Planck mass is the equivalent of that little teeny weeny frequency that is the length and the time. It's a little really small, really small. That is the pixels that the universe is made of, that all of the atoms are made of these pixels. The protons, every proton is actually a vortex of these Plancks spinning, and the field of Plancks within every proton has encoded in its Planck field all of the information of all of the rest of the protons in all of the universe. Think of the protons as being all of the mass in the rest of the universe, all of the stuff, all of the stuff, all of the matter in the atoms and the molecules and stuff. That's what the protons are. The protons are these little vortices of mass. They're Plancks spinning. And they are little integers, little fractal integers of wholeness, of encoded information of the whole universe. It's happening because all these Plancks that are all touching each other across all of the universe, this divine plasma that this universe is made of. And when they aren't spinning, it looks like emptiness, but it's not empty. It's not empty. It's full of Plancks. And when they are spinning, it looks like matter to you. It looks like stuff. But it's all Plancks. And that holographic nature of the universe is what makes me understand that it is absolutely possible for me to have an inner being, and for my inner being to know where everything is and what's going on, because it's all encoded. The information of it is encoded in every single proton, in every single atom, in every single molecule of your whole physical body. So if I have the information here in my physical body, I could have an aspect of myself that is reading the whole universe, is connected to the whole universe. Of course my inner being knows everything. So what is this inner being we're talking about? So I jumped from the physics and the mathematics and stuff of all of this, which I find incredibly important. It really does add up. Science and spirituality, the spirituality is just aspects of our experience that we haven't completely understood yet. It's aspects of the physics. It's like the spirit is like less and less dense matter, but it's all one thing. It isn't like there's spirit and then there's matter. It's all one thing. That when you think of it as this is one thing and this is another thing, it's very divisive. So where are we with this? So it's all one thing, and in my belief, we can put it all together. Within our own consciousness, we can put all of our information together into the place where everything goes, and we can understand the world. And it is my prayer, it is my intention, it is my sincere wish that our higher understanding, our better understanding, our clearer understanding of who we really are pure positive beings, and I don't care what kind of an asshole your neighbor is being. He is a pure positive being. And the reason that it's going so badly for him is he does not understand that, and his physical mind is going negative, which is in direct opposition to everything that his inner being knows. And so he's all gobbed up. He's all wadded up, out of alignment. He's out of sequence. His two selves are, it's like his twin carburetors are not, they're not tuned to one another. And quite frankly, so let's go to one of my favorite, I always have to show this one because this is the one that shows your two minds. One is your source mind and the other one is your physical specific mind. Can you guess which one is which? Your physical mind needs to be looking at what your broader mind cares about, because your broader mind cares about what you care about. It's been marking vibrationally everything you have ever registered. I care about this. I love this. I want this. I prefer this. Everything you have ever felt about, your inner being has marked what you care about and is staring in that direction. Which direction are you staring at? Remember that your physical success is going to depend upon your ability to focus, not upon your ability to act. Your actions are minor. What is major is you lining up. And as soon as you line up, truly line up, then every action that you have from that point on has tremendous reverberating effects on the field around you. Tremendous cohering, organizing, soothing, aligning effect on the field around you as soon as you are lined up. And it's not a question of how many things you have to move around. It's just your being now as you walk through the world has tremendous, it's like Abraham says, and who is this Abraham I talk about? Abraham Hicks. Abraham, that cadre of non-physical intelligence. That's how she describes it. I believe that Esther herself is tapping into her own stream of universal consciousness. That's how come Abraham has such great awareness of Esther and her life. I don't know that Bashar talks much about Daryl's life. I don't know. I don't follow Bashar enough. I do know that Bashar has some interesting topics that he covers, And at some point, I want to cover them in my show. He has something that he calls the 1, 3, 5, 7, and then he says 11 too. I don't really understand the 11 points of your passion. But the 1, 3, 5, 7, I understand those points. And at some point, I would like to talk about this download that Bashar gave us. It's really quite good. I like it. I bring Abraham into the discussion. Abraham added a lot to my understanding. When COVID shut the world down in the beginning of 2024, that was right when I had found the teachings of Abraham, and I had a lot of time that year because we quit going out, we quit going anywhere, we quit doing anything. We didn't participate in the holidays. We kept to ourselves and did not connect to anyone, not even family. You know, we shut down with the rest of the world, and I had lots of time to listen to lots of Abrahams, did a lot of meditating. And then right prior to that, me and my daughter had been participating in a local study group for A Course in Miracles. It met every week every Wednesday, met at the local community center. And so I was all primed for this kind of an understanding anyway. I had never read any books about the law of attraction. I didn't understand what it was. What is the law of attraction? The law of attraction says that which is like unto itself is drawn. And what it has to do with is it has to do with the resonating effect, the effect of frequencies upon one another. Like frequencies tend to meet up with one another and join with one another, and they start to amplify one another, as a matter of fact, like waves in a pond. You know, if you keep dropping, if you keep pulse, I don't know. I don't have a good analogy for that one, plant. So never mind. But that which is like unto itself is drawn. That's what the law of attraction says. And as it turns out, now the way Abraham talks about it, she speaks of the law of attraction generally as it refers to thoughts. Thoughts and feelings is what she's talking about. And how law of attraction works with your thoughts and your feelings, and how your particular configuration, your setup, what you actually are. And she doesn't give you graphs or anything. I'm the one that's come up with this image that helps me understand my two selves. So you have your source mind, and then you have your physical mind. And your source mind is attached to source. And what is source? Well, that's what we talk about all day long when we go over to the mathematics of it. That's what source is. Source is these Planck oscillators. They're like potentials for spin, and they're just kind of hanging out with one another. They're touching one another, and they're all densely packed with one another. And when they go into spin, when gradient density in the field causes things to go into spin, it's sort of like, imagine a hurricane. What throws a hurricane into spin is a slight change in density at the surface of the water caused by a slight change in temperature. A couple of degrees will do it. And the whole field starts spinning. And the next thing you know, you have this really big event like a hurricane. Well, the other events that are happening in these spin events happening in the universe are both more ubiquitous than a hurricane and bigger than a hurricane. There's planets and stars and galaxies and quasars, and all of these, they're all spin events. Every single one of them is a spin event with a singularity at the center of it. They're all black holes. We did not understand what a black hole was, actually. It's a vortex of this ether spinning. And there's big ones and there's little ones, and it's all exchanging information across all the densities. Anyway, let's get back to physical experience of a individual person, not talking about the grand physics of it. Let's just get back to my experience. What's going on in my life? How are these two minds of mine focusing? And how can I tell how? So the source mind, in a way you have access to it, and in a way you don't have access to it. The access that you have is, there it is, it's doing what it's doing, it's connected to all of actual reality. It's not going to come over to your fantasy place where you are. You're going to have to go over to where it is if you want to have a connection to it. Now, you actually have access to this connection to your broader self. You really do have connection to it. You have vibrational connection to it all the time. It is giving you vibrational information all the time. It's your GPS guidance system. It's your emotional guidance system. And how it's doing it is, you are two minds. Your source mind is pure positive. Pure positive, pure hope. Only it's even more than hope. It's knowing that all is well, that everything is great, that everything is possible, that the whole thing is a system designed, literally designed, to give you what you want. How does it give you what you want? It gives you what you want through your focus, because it's giving you what you're focusing on. What are you focusing on? Well, I'll tell you what your inner being is focusing on. Your inner being is focusing on everything you want. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on all the darkness around you, all of the crap that you don't like, that you're pissed off that you've got, that you wish you had something better, and isn't it unfair, and isn't it inconvenient, and oh my God, these people, they're so... Is that what you're focusing on? Or are you focusing on what you want? Because I'm telling you, people, this universe is a big, fat, desire granting machine. But the way it's granting it to us is by way of our focus. And so you have to stay focused on what you want. You can't slip into focusing on what we've got that you don't like. Now, I know that you have to use what we've got in order to get where you want to go. It's sort of like you use the road you're driving on to get your car to San Diego or whatever. Look, that's a good analogy. Or Santa Fe. Let's go to Santa Fe since we're going to talk local here. You use the road, which is analogous to what we've got. The reality of where you are is the analogy of the road. And you have to use the road, but it's not like you stop in the road and start staring at the exact specific pebbles in the road, in the gravel, right there on the road. As soon as you do that, you slow your car way down. Now you're just sitting there staring at the gravel in the road saying, man, I don't like this. And now you're not going to Santa Fe. You're just right there at the road, just actually what you're doing. What you actually are doing is you are creating by virtue of your focus. And if all you are doing is focusing upon whatever you're focusing on, that's what you're getting more of. Or that's what you're getting. So if you're focusing upon what you want, not necessarily in the goods that you have around us, but you're focusing upon where you want to go, then that's what we're getting. If you focus upon all the crap that we've got that you don't like, then you're just getting more of that. Now, it may look different, but it's in spirit, it's just more of the same crap. You're getting more of the crap because of the spirit of the way you're focusing on it. See, it's all about states of being. It's all about how you focus. And it's all about how you focus because you are two minds. You may think you're just one mind. You may not realize that you are the other mind too. And that's probably what's tripping you up. Because this other you that you may not realize you are, because you don't exactly have control over what this mind is thinking. So you may not realize that it is you. But it is you, and it's giving you its vibrational feedback is giving you your emotions. You may not realize that, but this is where your emotions are coming from. They are coming from how these two minds are blending or not blending with one another. If they are blending with one another, you've got positive emotion going on, and you are feeling good, and you're getting clear impulses from the universe, and you are just move with those impulses. You are acting in the greater service of the whole as you do so. If you do not feel good, there is something else going on, and I'll tell you what it is. If you do not feel good, if you are in a state of negative emotion of any sort, quit blaming it on a condition outside of you. Because, yeah, in a way, okay, that condition outside of you did trigger in you, within you, an awareness of a lack of alignment within you. That is true. It triggered within you an awareness of a misalignment within you. But that condition out there is not what caused that misalignment within you. That's something you need to line up, and in doing so, you are going to gain awareness of who you are and how this works. So don't blame the condition. Yes, it's true that that is a condition that you didn't like. And let's just set it aside that we would like to change that condition. However, it is not necessary to change that condition for you to change your alignment. And as soon as you get yourself into alignment, now you actually have a better chance of affecting something in the field that might now change that condition. So what I'm saying is you don't need the condition to change in order for you to feel better. And actually, you need to feel better before you're going to be able to change that condition in a way that is harmonious and pleasing to you, truly. So you got to learn how to change the condition, change your emotion unconditionally. And you might think to yourself, yeah, but now I'm just pretending that I didn't actually fix the world. I just felt better about a bad world. And that didn't help anything. But it does help something, because you can't fix a broken world. You can't fix an out of alignment world, because the world is not broken. The world is out of alignment. It's not broken. And actually, most of the world is not out of alignment. The only part of the world is part of the human world. And it's because we don't know who we are. And we don't know how our equipment works. But we could know how it works, and we could be in alignment with each other and with ourselves and with all the rest of the field. It really wouldn't be that big of a deal. So the world is not broken, the world is out of alignment, and you cannot fix an out of alignment world if you yourself are out of alignment. And if you feel bad, if you are in a state of negative emotion, even if it's legitimate, hey, wait a minute, I should be out of alignment. My nose should be bent out of shape, because as I turn and look at this travesty or this outrage or this monstrosity that is true, I can see it is true. It is unfolding right in front of my eyes. And as I gaze at it, of course I feel bad. But that's a problem. That's a problem. You got to be plugged into source if you want to affect a positive change. Otherwise, you're just mirroring the discord that you see in the field, which, okay, it has some benefit as an amplification. It's like Abraham says, if you don't get it, don't worry, it'll get bigger, you know. And she means that jokingly, but it's true. If we do not see who we are, and if we do not understand how this works, don't worry, it'll get worse. Until we have such a huge visual aid in front of us, playing out on the stage in front of us, that we can't help but finally get it. Oh yeah, okay, oh fine. We created that, didn't we? Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible, people. There is only one of us here. There is no us and them. And you say, well, of course there's us and them. It's so easy. As a matter of fact, if you let it devolve all the way to the polar extreme of Allies versus Nazis, for crying out loud, then you might imagine that there really is an us and them. Because you're like, no, there's obviously an us and them. They're us, we're the nice people, and Nazis, they're the ones that are operating on hate and fear and anger. They're a whole paradigm structure built on anger, fear, and whatever else I said. I said 3, and now I can't repeat the 3 of them. So who am I? Let's get back to this. I have this picture sitting up in front of the slide sitting here. This is the picture. This depicts the 2 minds. This is you. Your source mind on the left, your physical mind on the right. The job of your physical mind is here in your physical place on the grid. You are to peer into the specifics of the physicality of this universe where you are. So it is up to you in your physical mind to go specific. That's you. That's your job. Now that brings me to this. I don't know why this picture is degrading. Look at that. I don't know why it's doing that. In any case, 4 general states of being. This to me represents to your mechanism. This is your brakes and your accelerator. You may not think of it that way because going specific just means I'm looking at reality around me, right? Yes, but do it from a vantage point that is from where your inner being is with you. Your inner being being your source mind. You can tell how you're blending these 2 minds by how you feel. If you're in a state of negative emotion, you're not blending them very well. And how do you do this? So you think thoughts. You, in your specific physical conventional self, you make the choice of what thoughts to think. You are doing that. They are not being foisted upon you. Now, you were taught things when you were young, and you had exposure to life experience when you were in your download state of being, when you were downloading the information of the universe around you as you were growing up. And you were a very sophisticated machine in that manner as you downloaded everything through you were in theta, deep theta for the longest time, and then delta and alpha, and then finally you come into, I think, beta is where most of us adults spend most of our lives, I think. But anyway, but as an adult, you are choosing thoughts to think. And when you choose a thought to think, and it feels bad to you, You may believe that the reason it feels bad is because it's true, and if something like that horribleness was true, you'd feel bad too. It only makes logical sense that I feel bad when I look at that thing that I don't like. But that's not exactly why you are having a hit of negative emotion. You are having a hit of negative emotion because you have a broader perspective, an inner being, a source mind, and it knows things about the universe. And when you, in your physical mind, take thoughts that are in direct discord with what your inner being knows to be true, like maybe you think a thought like, I am all alone and I have no one to help me. And you're basing this upon you look around your physical body, your physical space, and you see no one in sight. And so you conclude that you are alone. And then you have this thought, I am alone and there's no one here to help me. And you have this tremendous surge of negative emotion about it. Especially if you believe this thought. Believe as in you just keep thinking it. You keep thinking it. You keep thinking it. You keep thinking it. You keep thinking it. And you can imagine that a thought like that, it feels so bad. You think that it feels bad because you are alone. And it would naturally feel bad. The truth of that feels so bad. That's not why you feel bad. The reason you feel bad is your inner being is sitting in a place where it knows that you are connected to an enormously connected, loving, kind, intelligent, beneficent universe. And you are surrounded by so much potential cooperative components, playful beings that could play with you or help you in your endeavors, advance your desires down the board. Your inner being knows the truth of what's really going on around you, that you are love connected to every single thing in the universe, all other beings, all pieces of matter are connected to you and your desires. And if you would line up with who you are as biology, with who you are as humanity, with who you are as the universe, if you would line up with it, all of those components swirling around in this infinitude of connected spin, you could line up with all of that and play in a magnificent and satisfying way. And your inner being knows that that's true. And so when you sit there and take a thought that is less, I have nothing, I am nobody, I don't matter. It's those thoughts that are the problem, not the truth of the situation. The truth of the situation is you're just fine. You actually are connected to a marvelous universe that is infinitely capable of giving us all what we want. And we could do this more quickly and way more efficiently if we would understand who we are as a collective being and do it all cooperatively together. Now, we are a connected collective being. We are absolutely. However, there's a little caveat to that, a little trick to that, a little monkey wrench in the works of that, if you will, because we are not just a connected being, a love-connected, divine matrix, field phenomenon connected being. We're not just that. We are that, and that's really important. It's very, very important. But we are something else. We are divinely autonomous beings within that single structure. And that really matters because you cannot sacrifice yourself for the whole. and do the whole any service. You don't sacrifice yourself in order to make the whole better. You find yourself, and that's what makes the whole better. You find yourself, you be yourself. You plug yourself into your source, and then from that position, be your most authentic self. Be your most individuated, divinely autonomous self. And that's how you help the whole. Now, in our modern, at least in my neck of the woods, here in America, we have two major political parties, and one of them tends to be more of a me party. Me. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about what I want and what I, you know, they contradict that all the time. Even though they are all about individual freedom, in some ways they stand to try to encroach on the individual's freedom almost worse than the other side. But the fact is that we are not just a me or a we are both. And you have to live out of being both. Being both a field phenomenon, play nice with the rest of the field, because you are a field phenomenon. You are made of plonks and pixels, and everybody else is too, and they're all playing with one another at a deeper level than you may or may not be consciously aware of, but they really are doing that. You are a we, but the way you play the we is you get into the center of your center, the center of the center of the center of your center, and you be yourself authentically and individually to your highest to the highest order that you can be. And that's how you serve the whole. You do not sacrifice yourself for the whole. When you have a situation where the individuals are sublimated and they all start sacrificing themselves for this greater concept called the whole, that's when you get into trouble. That's that lockstep and groupthink crap. You don't want that. You do not want the lockstep and the groupthink, people. We are connected to one another. You don't have to play that with a heavy hand on the outside. We are absolutely at the fundamental, at the quantum level, we are connected all the way down to the ground. We don't have to try so hard on that one. What you really need to do is go in and be your individual self. And what everybody else thinks about it, be damned. It's not your job to jump to the other side and observe yourself from everybody else's position and then make sure that you're pleasing from that direction. That's not your job. Your job is to line up yourselves, your two selves. And let's talk about these two selves for a minute, as long as I still have the slide up. They are both spinning vortices of attraction. One is just connected to everything that's real. That's your source side. And you, in your physical mind, as you look around, you can look in any direction you want. But when you look with your inner being, with what your inner being knows, and remember, your inner being is actually connected to all of reality. You may be connected to superstitious nonsense, phantasmagorical, I use the word phantasmagorical, which makes it hard for me to use the word fantasy now, because it sounds like a redundancy. But you may be off on negative flights of fantasy, of fancy, so far afield from what your inner being knows to be true about. You may be attaching all kinds of base intentions of. You may be assigning to your neighbor, for instance, all kinds of horrible negative intentions that are not actually true of who he is. You do not realize, but your neighbor is a pure positive self also, who has a specific conventional self that he may or may not be aligning with his true self very well. If he's not aligning with his true self very well, then he's gone negative and he's floundering. He's now banging around in his life unsuccessfully and painfully. Now, he looks very unpleasant from the outside because what he looks like from the outside is hateful and angry and destructive. But he's actually hurting because he's trapped within his own internal system and doesn't know how his system works. He doesn't know that when you go negative, what the idea is pull back. Okay, back to this one. The idea is when you find yourself in a negative thought, in a negative state of being, pull back to the general. Your general is your braking system. And instead of continuing to go more and more specific as you try to fix that problem from a negative position, it just makes you go more and more and more deeper into the field in a negative way. You've gone farther and farther in the opposite of direction of what you actually want. That's what's happened. So what's the answer? Pull back to the general. Your general, in your consciousness, within your consciousness, the general is your braking system. Go slow. If you want to go slow, get general. If you want to go fast, get specific. And if you're in a negative, you don't want to go fast. If you're in a negative, you now want to pull back to the general, find your positive, and then try to find a positive way in. Now, what if I'm looking at war? What if I'm looking at all of the terrible things that plague mankind? And in general, I can name them. Sixth mass extinction of biodiversity upon the planet. That's one. War in general. World poverty. Scarcity. Suffering. Starving children. Korean dogs. Garbage island, global warming, the destruction of the rainforest. You get it. All the big things. The big things that plague mankind. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat that most of those big things would be immediately ameliorated if we would get off fossil fuels. Now, you might question about whether war would go away. I believe that ultimately war will go away when we understand who we are. Because in the years before we used any kind of fossil fuels, we were at war. But that was because humanity itself sort of operates on a kind of scarcity paradigm. Scarcity paradigm on the one hand, and yet the supply chain of humanity itself on the other hand. So we collectively create goods, and then all human beings want to tap into some sort of access to those goods and services that human beings create. But we have never quite created enough to feel sufficiently abundant for all humans everywhere. We've never done that. I think we could. I think we easily could if we would come to an understanding of how this freaking field that we abide within, how it operates. It's actually a kind of very, very sophisticated 3D printer kind of a thing. And it's the fulcrum that it turns on, what it's moving on is desire itself. Desire for what? Desire for more, desire for better, desire for all that we love, desire for abundance and freedom and joy and connection and, life and comfort and all of the things that the desire for more is what is at the core of where your inner being is and how it is pulling you in the direction of what you really want. And the clarity of what you really want is okay. What we really want in its clear position is not destructive. It's things like freedom, abundance, joy, connection, all of that. There's nothing out of alignment with that. It's when our physical mind gets a hold of those feelings, and starts translating it into what that means in physicality. That's where it can get out of alignment. When my desire for comfort crosses your desire for life, as I, churn the entire neighborhood up to make my whatever, and I cut you all out of your homes and your ability to do anything. Now, the you that I'm talking to might be all of the biofield around me, all of the squirrels and the rabbits and the birds and the wolves and the elk and the deer and the hawks and the doves and all of that stuff. I cut all of their ability to function out as I mow down the landscape and pave everything over and whatever. We need to be more in alignment with the field around us, and not just the human field, but with the whole biofield around us. Now, we're allowed to want comfort. We are allowed to want to be comfortable. We are allowed to want our own personal abundance of food and clarity and fun and experience and all of that. But be in alignment with your inner being, because your inner being is in alignment with the rest of the field. And if you would get into alignment with yourself and stay there. Now, we are not designed to actually stay there. We are designed to sort of fall out of alignment. But if you care about how you feel and you're aware of how you are designed and how this works, you get a very, what would the object of this exercise be? Get really uncomfortable with negative emotion. Get out of your complacency with negative emotion. Quit being so ready to go into negative emotion. Become very intolerant of your negative emotion. What's going to happen is you're going to start feeling it more quickly when you cross your own energy stream and produce that negative emotion. That negative emotion appears when conventional small you takes a thought that is out of alignment with what your inner being knows to be true about the situation and knows to be true about what you want in the situation. You've taken a thought that crosses that. It doesn't feel good. Don't keep thinking it. And the way to not keep thinking it is to get really sensitive about that first hit of negative emotion. Because if you don't pick up on it right away, that negative thought is going to collect another thought to it, and another one, and momentum will ensue because of the law of attraction. That which is likened to itself is drawn. All thoughts have momentum, and they don't just sit static. You take a thought, positive or negative, and another thought just like it is going to join it, and it's going to make the momentum of the original thought stronger. And then another one's going to join it, and then another one's going to join it. And according to Abraham, in approximately 1 minute, you've had 4 amplifications, and you're going pretty good down that thought, whichever direction it is, positive or negative. If you're sensitive to how you feel and you don't put up with negative emotion, you're not willing to believe bad things or to take judgy thoughts. You're not willing to feel that negative emotion because you don't like the way it feels. It doesn't feel good when you do it. You know you're going in the opposite direction when you do it. So don't be willing to do it for very long. You can afford to take a few seconds down the wrong trail, but you don't want to spend all day in a negative state banging around, because the whole entire time that you were in your negative state, you are not working on your positive goals. You're basically unraveling them all. Whenever you're in your negative mind, you are working against your positive self. You are out of alignment with your positive self, and your panties are in a wad, and your bass backwards to your own desires. Your impulses are coming in scrambled. It's sort of like, I don't know. I don't know how many more ways to describe this. But your inner being side of you, your source side of you, this ongoing, eternal, connected to the rest of the field, your broader perspective mind self, that self of you, it's always thinking positive thoughts. It's always looking at possibilities, always looking for the win, 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 win in the situation. Who can I co-create with? How can I make this better? That's what the direction that your inner being is always looking. And that is the explanation to your bad mood, because maybe you took a thought that ain't looking that direction. And it feels bad. It drags the whole thing down. It makes you feel you cannot escape your relentlessly positive aspect. You can't escape her. She will dog you forever. And you're out of alignment or in alignment with your two selves is the explanation of everything. It's the explanation of your ornery neighbors. It's the explanation of your ignorant, whatever. It's the explanation of the angry party in politics. It's the explanation of everything. There's nothing broken. There's just something not understood here. The world is not broken, and we are not broken. We function perfectly. We just don't know how we function. We don't know how this works. We keep thinking that there are good people and there are bad people. And the bad people need to be punished. And that threat of that punishment is what's going to keep them in line. Because that's how it's always been. That's how the law works. And we are people of the law. Well, you know what? I believe that the time of the law is passing. Now, right now, we still are in the last gasping moments of the law. But what we're going to have to switch to, because it's the only way that we can organize 8 billion people successfully on this planet, or 9 billion, or 10 billion, or wherever we're going with this, because I'm telling you, people, the babies keep coming. And thank God they do, actually. It's a good thing that the babies keep coming. And we can't whip our old, tired ideas into their little resistance-free brains fast enough. We can't do it. And so a lot of our resistance doesn't get translated to the next generation, and thank God for that. But there's only one way we're going to organize all of us correctly and peacefully and harmoniously and to the benefit of us all and to the joyous abundance of us all. There's only one way we're going to do that, and that is we've got to learn who we are and how to line up with our own source within us. We have to, each and every individual is responsible for this one act. It's the one thing that everyone needs to learn what it is and how to do it. Line your two selves up. How do you do that? Care how you feel. Care how you feel, and don't be so willing to go negative. Don't be so ready to jump on a negative train and start declaring that negative thing that you see in that person next to you, that your neighbor, is real. That's who he really is. No, it's not. If you don't see the positive, you're not seeing who people really are. And if you don't see the positive within yourself, then you're not seeing who you really are. And the meaning of it, the whole meaning of it is you're not in alignment with yourself, and that's why you're going negative and And so we do this show in service of this great question. Who am I? Who am I, and how does my equipment work? And what is this medium I am swimming in, and how does that work? We'll go back to the 4 general states of being just for a minute. Now, I have a few more slides to show. I realize I'm coming up on an hour and a half, not quite there yet. So I have a couple more minutes. Here's your emotional guidance scale. This is the scale that tells you how well you are blending with your inner being. How well you are blending or not blending with your inner being. With your thoughts. How well are your thoughts that your conventional brain is choosing to think? How well are those thoughts blending with the thoughts that your inner being, your source mind, is thinking all the time about what's really going on around you? Go where your inner being is, because that's where the light is shining. It's really important that we do this. And so what's the answer to all of our problems on planet Earth? We've got to soothe each other out of our negative states of being. We've got to get out of our negative mind. We've got to quit believing our negative mind. We are a pure positive being here on planet Earth. Now, I mean, you don't have to tell me, but we're not a pure net positive being on planet Earth. Look at how negative we are. Yes, it is our negative mind that is so destructive. We've got to quit believing our negative mind. Anyway, so where did all of this come from? It comes from this layer of mind we call the neocortex. This is sort of your physical thinking brain's overview mind. This is the aspect of yourself that can see over the perhaps hormonal responses coming from your mammalian brain or your lizard brain. You know, just your raw responses to the environment around you. Your immediate knee-jerk responses to the environment around you. Those are coming from your lower brain. Your higher brain gives you the ability to see a broader perspective and take thoughts about your broader perspective. And this is why it creates emotions. Because when you take a thought that is out of alignment with what your broader perspective knows to be true about the situation, think of your source mind as being your true broader perspective mind. The one that is in contact, in concert, in harmony with everything that is. And now your smaller conventional brain can just try to take thoughts that are in alignment. And when it doesn't succeed, you get negative emotion. And so when I would say that when you take a thought that gives you negative emotion, don't believe the thought and hold on. Don't believe that emotion and hold on to it and keep holding on to that thought. The cue is, ooh, red hot thought, let go. Let go. It's almost like, they're almost like the things in Bellatrix Lestrange's Gringotts Bank Vault. Thoughts like that. Any thoughts that resistant thoughts that produce negative emotion are just like the things in Bellatrix Lestrange's Gringotts Bank Vault. That's too many syllables. I don't want to have to say that again. When you touch them, they multiply and get hot. So when you feel that, by way of that first hit of negative emotion that you get when you take that thought that doesn't feel good, we tend to glom on to the other end of it and assume that the thought has to be true. Therefore, we just have to deal with that negative emotion, which is natural when you have a thought that bad that's true. No, it feels bad because it's not true. And your inner being knows that it's not true, so let go of it. In the very, very first feeling of it. Now, the reason I bring up this, not just because this explains the configuration of the physical brain's overmind aspect. You know, your physical brain's overview. Now, your vibrational source brain has true overview, true connection to all things. Your physical mind can only kind of guess at it. It has some it's sort of like a blind person who's kind of blind, who's not, oh wow, I got to think about that. Who can kind of see, who has kind of a sense of what the field around them is. Oh, that's really interesting, because I'm kind of blind. Not really, but kind of. So anyway, this neocortex, this layer of brain, 76% of this comes from a very suspicious source. It comes from human chromosome number 2, which I believe isn't even the largest chromosome in the human body. In the human genome. I would like to know more about other chromosomes, but this chromosome is a little bit fishy. Human chromosome number 2, responsible for 76% of the neocortex volume, which gives you your complex human emotions and basically your conscious connection to your overview self. It gives you a conscious connection to your source mind. So, origin of human chromosome number 2, an ancestral telomere to telomere fusion. What this tells us, this is an article. This comes from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. You got to understand what this is. This is a scientific journal where the different disciplines of the sciences, the National Academy of Sciences, have all gone off into their little respective corners, and they're doing their little specialization. They're specializing in all their specialized fields. And they come up with their little things, what these people have come up with, whatever their stuff is. And then they publish their work to each other, because only other members of their scientific discipline can really understand fully the language of the science that they're doing. So they publish it here. It's open source. It's really easy to find. You don't have to sign up to anything. You don't have to nothing. You just go look at it. pnas.org. The article, it's in, let's see, you can go find it. It is October 15th, 1991. That's the volume you're looking for. This has pages and stuff listed right here, but I couldn't find it by way of pages. Maybe you could by opening up each one of the articles and seeing if you're getting closer. Am I getting closer? And so you could home in on it. I just looked at the titles. It's the 40th article in this volume. Origin of human chromosome number 2, an ancestral telomere to telomere fusion. And all these people are saying is, we looked at the sequences, the genomic sequences on this chromosome. And what we can tell, because of how this lays out, this is what we've decided it is. We conclude that is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion, and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. Now, they're not saying how these fused. It couldn't, from their perspective, could have happened naturally, I guess. I don't know. They fell on each other and just glued telomere to telomere, and then because that was unnatural seeming, then redundancies on both sides kind of fell away, and that stabilized the fusion. And oh, by the way, it created the neocortex, which basically makes us human, and before that we weren't. Now, what I think happened is I think somebody genetically modified us about 200,000 years ago, when anatomically modern humans appeared on the planet Earth. Now, I know anthropologists are still probably, looking for the bones, looking for the paleontologists, they're looking for the bones. I don't think they're going to find the bones. I think this is the missing link. And in future days, we will talk about that some more. I realize I have passed the hour and a half mark. I think I've actually shown all of my slides, which means I've gone through the whole presentation. Um, Other than the fact that my actual physical goal, my intention, my desire for this project is ultimately I would like it to help us as human beings get off of fossil fuels, know who we are, raise our consciousness to the level that we can get off of fossil fuels, that we can know who we are and know how to plug into source energy. Know who we are as source energy. Remember, we are these two minds. This is not, your source mind is not an otherness, not a divine otherness coming from somewhere else trying to order your life. It's you. It is you and all of your desires and your declared loves. It is what all that you love and all that you desire. That's what your source mind is trying to lead you to. And I want to help us get there. And with that, I think I'm going to end for the day. I have done good enough work for one day, sufficient unto the day. And tomorrow I will be back. I hope you will join me. I love you. I appreciate you. I bid you peace. I wish you well. And above all, may the source be with you.